For the third time in less than 2 years, a would-be assassin tried and failed to murder President Trump. And coming up tonight, we have live reaction from the FBI director, Kash Patel, former deputy FBI director, former Secret Service agent. Dan Bongino will join us. Senator John Fetterman will be here. He tonight is calling on his fellow Democrats to drop the Trump derangement syndrome and build the White House ballroom so big events like the White House Correspondents' Dinner can be safe and secure for all. We'll ask Senator Fetterman about the over-the-top violent rhetoric from Democrats, by the way, including Jimmy Kimmel. Earlier last week, he, quote, unquote, joked Melania Trump had a glow like an expectant widow. The First Lady is now responding to, quote, coward Jimmy Kimmel. We'll bring you exactly what she said. That's straight ahead. But we begin with several major issues present during each assassination attempt against President Trump. First and foremost, there were major issues with the size and scope of the perimeter. There are multiple, more robust perimeters. I've experienced it myself at the RNC and the DNC every 4 years. The first perimeter may be a mile or a half a mile from the actual venue. Overseas, I've been with world leaders. Events feature a much wider, much more secure perimeter. In Butler, a gunman was able to get on a ladder and was a mere 130 yards away on a rooftop outside, quote, the perimeter. That should be well within the perimeter. That's an easy shot for even a half-skilled marksman. In West Palm Beach at Trump International, a would-be assassin in the woods with a rifle, again, only a couple of hundred feet from where a president was playing golf. By the way, an area well known for paparazzi over the years. And like Butler, the area at Trump International was never swept. It was never secured. There's no excuse for this. And by the way, that does not mitigate the bravery of those men and women that raced into danger and harm's way, that are willing to take a bullet for elected officials, for our cabinet members. This weekend, the perimeter, again, way too close, only a few hundred feet away from the president, just outside the ballroom where President Trump, almost every major cabinet official, the vice president, all having dinner. The entire hotel, again, not swept, not secure. Anyone who made a hotel reservation had access to that hotel. No bags were checked. This guy with a gun on the premises got 50 yards from that ballroom. Let us be very clear. These security perimeters have got to be way bigger, more secure, and there's got to be multiple layers. Now, every square inch of any building where a president will be must be completely swept and secured. In other words, you sweep it, and then you make sure nobody goes there. Simple. The perimeter has to be multi-layered and much further away. And I'll say it again, for the entire hotel, it has to be swept, it has to be locked down, and then it has to be secured after it's swept, so it doesn't need to be swept again. In fact, just after this weekend's attack, I spoke with the president by phone. I urged him to postpone the dinner and not return to the ballroom, which he made very clear to me and to everyone else that was in the room with him that he wanted to do. At that point, the security concerns inside and outside the perimeter, they were just too high, and the president absolutely made the right call to leave, speak from the White House. He will reschedule, he says, hopefully within the next 30 days. Sadly, the threats against President Trump, they are not going away. Year after year, Democrats, the media mob, they have radicalized their base. And I'm not going to read from the recent failed assassin's pathetic manifesto, but let's just say it's not the rantings of someone with schizophrenia. Instead, this guy was simply regurgitating that which we hear often. They're called Democratic legacy media mob talking points, just like these. Take a look.
The entire Democrat Party has made their pitch to voters across the country that Donald Trump poses an existential threat to democracy, that he is a fascist, and that they compare him to Hitler. I mean, these are despicable statements that the American people have been consuming for years, and so many mentally perturbed individuals are led to believe these words are truth and then are inspired to act on it. I have a whole host of examples that we can share with you after. It is pages and pages of major Democrat Party elected officials, saying, such as Rep. Hakeem Jeffries just this month, said, "We are in an era of maximum warfare everywhere all the time." Governor Josh Shapiro said heads need to roll within the administration. Senator Alex Padilla said people are, quote, dying because of fear and terror caused by the Trump administration. Senator Elizabeth Warren, President Trump is making the country look like a, quote, fascist state. Senator Adam Schiff saying President Trump using a dictator playbook. Senator Ed Markey calling President Trump a dictator, saying that this administration's actions are authoritarianism on steroids. Governor J.B. Pritzker, never before in my life have I called for mass protest disruptions. These Republicans cannot know a moment of peace. You have Rep. Presley saying, "We'll see you in the streets." Rep. Monica McIver, a Democrat representative on Capitol Hill, "We will not take this from Donald Trump. He thinks he's a dictator. We are at war." These are Democrat elected officials calling for war against the President of the United States and his supporters. I could go on and on, but again, when you have people in positions of power that are saying things like this every single day for years, you are inspiring violence by people who are already mentally ill. And that's what we've seen against this president for far too long.
Now, Democrat leaders in the House and Senate calling Trump, let's see, we hear it all the time, Hitler, fascist, racist, Gestapo, telling voters that he's a threat to democracy, that this is just the tip of the iceberg. Take a look.
Many of your fellow Democrats have used some heated rhetoric against the president. And do you think twice about that when something like this happens?
What rhetoric do you have in mind?
Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans represent an extremism that threatens the very foundations of our republic.
I just don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country, and maybe there will be.
The threat right now in this country to the American people are extreme MAGA Republicans. That's the threat.
Mark Milley said, "No one has ever been more dangerous to this country than Donald Trump, and he is a fascist to his core."
We're in a war right now to save this country, and so you have to be willing to do whatever is necessary in order to save the country.
You get out and you create a crowd, and you push back on them, and you tell them they're not welcome anymore, anywhere.
I don't understand why it's so difficult for the press to have a consistent narrative about how dangerous Trump is.
Do you think Donald Trump is a fascist?
Yes, I do.
We have a Timo Hitler in the White House right now.
Yes, I have thought an awful lot about blowing up the White House.
They're still going to have to go out and put a bullet in Donald Trump, and that's a fact.
When was the last time an actor assassinated a president?
We do now live in a country that has an authoritarian leader in charge.
He's just a vile creature. The worst thing on the face of the earth. But anyway.
You think he's the worst thing on the face of the earth?
I do, yeah. I do.
11 years it's on a loop, dehumanizing, insightful rhetoric. Think about this. Just last week, the current minority leader in the House, Hakeem Jeffries, who could, be just one election away from becoming a speaker, urging supporters to treat Trump's presidency like a war? Really? Take a look.
We are in an era of maximum warfare. Everywhere, all the time. And we're going to keep the pressure on Republicans in every single state in the union.
Now, tonight, Hakeem Jeffries is not apologizing or reflecting on his violent rhetoric. Instead, he only doubled down, writing, quote, "America will not be lectured about civility by far-right extremists." Barack Obama weighing in, pretending that the would-be assassin's motive wasn't known, even though his motive was very clearly stated in his own words, his own manifesto. For 11 years, our country has been tormented by Democrats, members of the legacy media mob, who just can't accept the results of two elections, 2016, 2024, breathlessly, repeatedly, falsely, predicating and predicting the end of America as we know it, and telling their loyal fan base, some that are very unhinged, that Trump is worse than Hitler and Stalin and Mussolini, and he's a Gestapo. And then they get angry, and then they get indignant, And when anyone calls out their terrible behavior, even after it very clearly contributes to violence, every Democrat, every one, they don't do a thing. They don't change, with the exception of very few, like John Fetterman. You know, they should feel a deep level of shame. I think they're incapable of it. Sadly, the smears, the slander, the besmirchment, the hatred, it will continue without a second thought. That's why an even bigger burden now rests with the Secret Service and the FBI to keep our president, our elected officials, our cabinet safe and secure. All right, thanks for watching. Check out my new podcast, Hanging Out with me, Sean Hannity. The big interviews, the debates you won't get anywhere else. Like and subscribe for new episodes every Tuesday and Thursday.